Well, hello YouTube, it's me Fortmaster, and welcome back to another game theory reaction. This is, I already solved the next Garten of Banban, and this is about chapter 8. Yeah, so I have a feeling that this is going to be talking a lot about the prequel that they released not that long ago. The Garten of Banban chapter 0, where you see all the monsters from Garten of Banban, but they're like children, so they're small and quote-unquote cute. And I think it's pretty accurate to say that you were most likely playing the blue Banban that you see a glimpse of in Chapter 7 and who's the mascot of Chapter 8, where apparently they're just a better version of Banban who was going to be, like, thrown away because he was a failure. And then after a whole bunch of shenanigans happen in Chapter 0, mostly because of Banban, the Banban then tells them, oh, we're gonna play some hide and seek, and then basically locks them in a cupboard for, you know, the next who knows how many years. So, yeah, well, I mean, when it comes to logic, yeah, that's certainly a Garten of Banban amount of logic right there. It was certainly very weird. And, I mean, granted, I guess you could, but I am actually kind of interested to see, like, how they're going to guess Chapter 8's going to be and how close they actually end up being when Chapter 8 is released. So that, though that being said, we still haven't gotten Chapter 5 yet. So yeah, we should probably get this thing started. So of course, as always, original video is linked in the description if you haven't seen it yet for some reason. Corner video lead to my film theory reaction. And if you like this video or any other video that I make, I'd very much appreciate it if you gave the video a like and subscribe to my channel, because I know how this works. The vast majority of people who watch my content aren't subscribed, and I'd very much like that to change because my big goal for this year is to hit 5,000 subscribers, you know, hopefully. I mean, if Social Blade says it's possible, I mean, I'm going to try to believe them. But yeah, with all that out of the way, let's get this thing started then, shall we?
Banban is one big mistake. And no, I'm not talking about the games. Banban himself is a mistake.
Well, I mean, you could say the games as well, because honestly, something like this shouldn't have gotten as big as it actually is.
But now, he's going to be replaced. And that is much worse. Hello, Internet! Welcome to Game Theory, the show that would never cheat during a game of hide and seek.
I saw you peek. There's no way you found me that easily.
But you know who has been hiding from us for a while? The old red devil himself, Banban. It's been over 8.5 months since we last got ourselves a mainline Garten of Banban game. That's nearly twice as long as the previous longest Banban drought. And while I normally call that a win for my sanity, I gotta say, I kinda miss the... Never mind. And so, after the epic conclusion of Garten of Banban 7, I was intrigued by what Banban 8 would offer. Only, we didn't get Banban 8. We got Banban 0. For a game about a kindergarten, this series sure does struggle with basic counting. Though, I suppose there is a reason behind this one. Garten of Banban 0 is a prequel, taking place before all the other games in the series, back when the mascots were all just little babies. I mean, little babies. And it turns out that spending more time on your game leads to a better final product.
That's fun.
Who would have thought?
You're learning, Euphoric Bros. You're learning. But we're not here to talk about how good the game is or how freaking adorable Truffle Toot is. Spoiler, he is my son, and I love him. We're also not here to talk about the lore either, at least not entirely. Because while it is suitably insane for this channel, the thing that's been even more insane is the science. If you watched our last theory, you'll know that I have been a bit obsessed with what the heck the series' main MacGuffin actually is. The green goo that created the mascots, Givanium. Previously, we theorized that Givanium was the genetic material of a particular kind of flatworm mixed with a gene editing technology. And now, thanks to Garten of Banban 0, we not only have more details that tell us exactly what Givanium is, but as a result, we're able to predict exactly what's going to happen when Banban 8 does finally happen. So hold on to Truffle Toot real tight, loyal theorists, because we're gonna shine a light on the science lurking in the caverns of Garten of Banban 0. Unlike previous editions in the series, we're not playing as a parent desperately looking for their missing child. Instead, we actually play as an unnamed mascot who has just awoken for the first time in the facility. We meet Banban and the other mascots and play a bit of hide and seek until a certain familiar face shows up, Syringian, who begins hella scheming with Banban.
We have to do something, and I might just know what exactly.
Apparently, Banban is about to be replaced, but Syringian has a plan to save him, and it has to happen tonight. Later that night, Banban comes into our room and wakes us up to go on some sort of adventure. Red, that's pretty sus. We solve some puzzles, we meet Truffletoot, my goat, but eventually Banban tries to sacrifice us to this giant half-ram, half-snake thing. Oh no, who would have ever seen this coming? Thankfully, we're saved at the last moment.
You know, you say that, and yet, of all the Let's Plays I did see of this, a lot of people were actually surprised that Banban betrayed them.
By the selflessness of Nab Nab. We get our final chase sequence, and Banban shuts us in a closet, promising to come back for us eventually. And roll credits. Now, if you've got the Banban brain rot like me, first of all, I'm so sorry. But you will recognize this closet from the first trailer of Garten of Banban 8.
Hi. It's been a while.
Yeah, you think? We were little kids when you locked me in here. But this does officially reveal to us who we are playing.
Jeez, okay, I did not see that trailer. I didn't know that, you know, Banban was so scarred now.
As throughout Banban Zero, the blue Banban known as Flumbo. He was first teased at the end of Garten of Banban 7 when our character peeled back a sticker of Banban off a wall to reveal Flumbo underneath. Dramatic stinger! Oh, no, not you, Stinger Flynn. You're not in this game. Thank goodness. But all of this just opens up more questions than it answers. Why was Banban being replaced? Why Flumbo? And why is Banban planning on setting Flumbo free in the next game when he was the one who locked him away in the first place?
I mean, at the very least, you can say change of heart. At the very least, it seems like it has been many years, and given that everything that's happened, you know, Banban has probably realized, hey, you know, that was kind of a mistake, and we need all hands on deck.
Well, to begin answering all those questions, we need to look where Banban always hides its juiciest lore, the hidden notes scattered throughout the facility. According to one of the case reports, the decision to axe Banban came about after they injected Banban with a new strain of Givanium, with the hope that it would make him more docile and obedient. Unfortunately, it sort of had the opposite effect. Quote, at seemingly random intervals, Case 6 would experience extremely violent, aggressive, disobedient episodes where it would attack anything in sight. Physical transformations during these episodes have also been observed. This was the start of Banban's hyper-aggressive, super strong, wild state that we've seen Banban transform into many times in previous games. Apparently, over 200 people have been injured as a result of Banban's sudden rage, with a fatality rate of around 10%. Those are not great numbers when Banban is supposed to be the mascot of checks notes, a freaking kindergarten.
Again, yeah, I mean, again, the mascot horror scale of things is just so extreme with Garten of Banban, because I mean, like, with FNAF and like in the more recent games with like the Pizzaplex, I mean, granted the place was huge, but it was like designed to be huge. It's like supposed to be basically an entire mall devoted to pizza and stuff like that. I don't know how successful something like that would actually be, but, you know, at least they, you know, say that, oh, this is the mega Pizzaplex, it's supposed to be big. But then with Poppy Playtime, you have the factory that just seems to have endless numbers of sub-basements and giant caverns and other just giant things underneath it. But you don't even have that with the Garten of Banban, because again, it was supposed to be a kindergarten or like a daycare. Like, why does a daycare have this giant lab experimentation complex underneath it?
So, this new strain is apparently causing problems for our dear friend Banban because it's mixing with the old strain within his body. But why? Well, in our previous theory, we concluded that Givanium was actually DNA mixed with the gene editing technology CRISPR-Cas9. Specifically, it was the DNA from a species of flatworm called Bipalium coense. It had the uncanny ability to regrow back body parts after being damaged, something it seems like all the other experiments can do after suffering major injuries.
Also, if you see one of those in real life, throw them in the freezer, and after they've frozen, smash them up to absolute oblivion, because they are an invasive species in North America.
It had a non-mammal-like circulatory system, it could regenerate its own memories, and its head even looked like Syringian's. Now in Banban Zero, we're given even more evidence that this is in fact the case, or at least the DNA part. Written on the whiteboard in the secret room is a message that says Givanium can proliferate indefinitely, just like how DNA can theoretically self-replicate, making more and more copies of itself basically forever. Therefore, with Givanium being DNA, that would mean that we now have two similar but slightly different strains of DNA. Not different enough to be classified as a new genome, but not similar enough that everything just works as the scientists would expect. And that is something we can actually witness for ourselves if we step outside of the four walls of this ungodly kindergarten and into the world of species hybridization. Normally, scientists define a species as a group of organisms who are able to mate with each other to produce viable offspring. For example, every human on Earth can theoretically produce a viable human offspring with any other human on Earth. Therefore, all humans are part of the same species. Meanwhile, other organisms, even closely related ones like chimps, are excluded from our species. But of course, nature has a funny way of really messing with our clearly defined and agreed upon definitions.
Yeah, well, I mean, just a couple of examples I can think of, mules, ligers, and even then, like, even those two, they're even weirder because they're only made by having two different animals of specific genders mate. Like, if I remember correctly, I think a mule is between a male donkey and a female horse. I forget which is the male and which is the female for a liger. But I know that if you switch them around, you get something completely different. Like, if I remember correctly, if it's a female donkey and a male horse, you get something called a hinny. Which is just worse than a mule because they're, like, apparently very small and not that strong.
Because there are some organisms who technically aren't part of the same species, but they can produce offspring.
Just not viable offspring.
For example,
again, like ligers and mules and stuff like that, they're sterile. They can't have offspring.
Donkeys and horses are able to produce offspring known as a mule. You can get wolf dogs, which I think you can guess how you get that. One of my favorites when I was a kid was the liger, a mix of a male lion and a female tiger. And they were my favorites until I realized that these hybrid animals don't exactly live the best lives. More often than not, these hybrids come with a whole host of problems as a direct result of them mixing their genes together. First off, many of these new hybrid creatures, such as the mule, once created, are unable to make offspring of their own. My formerly beloved ligers have been documented to suffer with organ failure, neurological defects, cancer, arthritis, and other mutations. There's also some research that indicates that these hybrid cats and wolf dogs can have a whole host of behavioral problems, including being way more aggressive than either of their parent species, just like Banban. The scientists must have thought, these species are close enough, how much harm could it possibly do? The answer is
a lot.
Your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they didn't stop to think if they should.
But the question I have is, what species is this new strain from? It need to be something genetically close to the current strain of Givanium by Pallium coense in order to still be considered Givanium rather than a new genome. The scientists were also trying to find ways to make Banban more cooperative, more docile, more suitable for their evil plans of running a kindergarten. Similarly, whatever species we find should also demonstrate some of the traits we've seen manifest in Banban post-injection, like his animalistic hunger and, of course, his love of pancreases. And I found just what the Dr. Uthman ordered. The species I found that fits the bill for this new Givanium strain is a species known as Gerardia doritocephala, or GD for short. Much like our old strain, GD is a type of planaria, sharing a lot of the same genes and characteristics, like their ability to regrow half of their bodies when damaged. But on top of that, GD has a ton of other characteristics that fit everything the scientists were looking for. First, location.
Really?
Last time we mentioned that Givanium comes from our neighbors, quote, down south. We have a ticket for a flight coming out of Montreal, so their southern neighbors are almost certainly the United States. We also said that our previous strain, coense, fits the bill because it came from the US. Except that's not entirely accurate. Coense is actually from Asia, but was accidentally introduced to North America, so it's considered an invasive species.
That's
GD,
what I
on
said.
the other hand, is native to North America. This not only fits the bill much better, but it also reflects what the scientists were looking for. Coense is invasive and disruptive to its environment, whereas GD is not disruptive. It is part of the ecosystem, and so likely will play nicer than an invasive species like the old Givanium strain. There's also the matter of where in the environment you can find these little flat boys. GD tends to be found in surface freshwater environments like ponds and especially flowing rivers. Living in a river, you not only have to contend with flowing water, but also every other creature that makes it home, dirt and dust running off into the river, and just the general chaos of that environment. Plus, there have been a bunch of studies on GD specifically that show when put under environmental stress, they were incredibly quick to adapt and highly resistant to those stressors, even going so far as to physically change the environment around them, like the pH of the water or soil, in order to keep their bodies working optimally. Meanwhile, Quents lives in what is probably the opposite of a stimulating environment. Quents mainly feed on earthworms, and where do earthworms live? In the dark, damp world underground, under rocks, away from just about everything. And remember, the ultimate goal of these Givanium creatures was to have them be interacting with children in a kindergarten.
Yeah, so you don't want, your creature with whatever genetic memories it might have to, want to eat children or, those just smaller and weaker than themselves.
And if you've ever spent, 5 seconds in a kindergarten before, you know they tend to be pretty chaotic places. So while an old strain of Banban might be able to handle the cold, dark caverns of the basement of the kindergarten, these violent outbursts will only get worse when he's overstimulated in the kindergarten classroom, while the new strain from GD would likely have a much better time with it, and may even be proactive in lowering the stress of that environment for its own survival. Our new strain of Givanium also happens to have a more varied appetite. Last time I said that Quents would eat rotting flesh and organs like pancreases. Well, this is where I have to apologize a bit. The study I used for that point does say that certain planarians do that, it's just that Quents isn't actually one of them. They pretty much stick to exclusively earthworms like their Phil and Lil from the Rugrats. But do you want to guess what planarian the study said did enjoy pancreas? GD. So after a little injection from this new strain, it's no wonder Banban might have developed a more aggressive diet. So my bad for making that mistake in the last episode, but hey, it worked out in the long run. There's also the side effects the scientists didn't mention, like how Quents happens to produce a substance known as TTX, which is let's see here, a super dangerous neurotoxin. GLaDOS, eat your heart out. But
yeah, that'll definitely
not exactly
do it.
what you want around children, or adults for that matter. Thankfully, our new
Anybody.
strain GD is 100% TTX free. But the real reason that GD fits our potential new strain of Givanium the best, and why the scientists at the kindergarten would be super interested in this species in particular, has to do with the flatworm's superpower. As I've already mentioned, flatworms have the uncanny ability to regrow entire parts of their body.
So if that's not the superpower, then what is? Honestly, they're building it up here, and I'm almost having to wonder, like, is this thing, like, is it immune to cancer? Is it has the slime it produces been known to, like, help with, like, curing Alzheimer's or something? Like, what is it? Like, this is killing me.
You cut a flatworm in half. Not only will the head grow back its tail, but the discarded tail will also grow back a replacement head. What's even freakier is that the tail that regrew the entire new head will somehow retain some of the memories of its decapitated head. And GD takes this superpower to an even bigger extreme. In one study, scientists took a bunch of GD worms and divided them into 2 groups. One group was trained using electric shocks to avoid a particular light, while the other group was left as a control. Then the scientists brought in a separate group of GD worms that hadn't been trained in anything and had these new worms eat the experimental groups. And what they found afterwards was shocking. They found that the worms who had not been trained to avoid the light but did eat the worms who had were significantly better at avoiding the light than the worms who had eaten the non-trained worms. Basically, the memories of one worm was transferred to another after being eaten. Nature is wild.
Really? Okay, that is fascinating. Oh god, you know what I just remembered? That's almost like anybody watching this that knows anything about Warhammer 40k, that's literally an ability that Space Marines have. Like, it's used a couple of times in like stories and stuff like that, but literally Space Marines have the ability in the like one of the organs that's implanted in them where they can eat like I forget whether it's just like I forget whether it's just like just like anything, or if you have to specifically eat the brain of somebody, but like they have the ability to actually like gain memories of like people that they eat like on the battlefield and stuff like that. I always thought that was purely just like something that was just purely science fiction. I didn't think there was any basis for it in reality.
Man, if this kindergarten's goal is to make Banban more obedient and docile, one way they could do that is to try and get him to remember more of his docile human self. Banban's human genome donor was Dr. Uthman, a scientist at the facility, one that knows about the experiments and why everything is being done. If Banban can unlock more of the doctor's memories, then he likely would be more docile, more cooperative, as he would remember what his true purpose is. And we can confirm that this memory transferring ability is something the scientists are aware of, because during Banban Zero, when Syringian is having a sneaky conversation with Banban, he says this.
I've also nabbed that doctor's samples as promised. I am certain they'll drive away your issues. You'll be a new you.
Doctor samples? Like DNA samples? Syringian is planning on adding more of Dr. Uthman's samples to Banban in order to make him remember his past, to make him less prone to his aggressive outbursts. And we know this worked because at other points in the series, Banban has more memories of being Dr. Uthman, even thinking that he is Dr. Uthman at one point. And this makes him more, quote, docile and cooperative. Exactly what the scientists wanted. But all of that comes later. As far as the scientists are concerned, during Banban Zero, giving Banban
he's a
the
failure.
strain has been a failure, and they plan on moving on from him and training up a replacement, Flumbo. But remind me again, how did the scientists refer to getting rid of Banban? They didn't say they were destroying him or killing him. They are repurposing him. And that was when everything began to click into place. Flumbo was created to take Banban's place, made purely out of the new strain of Givanium to avoid the mistakes from before. A strain that allows Flumbo to absorb the memories of any creature he consumes.
So are you suggesting that the scientists were going to have this Flumbo literally eat Banban? Okay, sure.
Banban's new purpose was to be food for Flumbo. Flumbo would then gain even more of Dr. Uthman's memories, making him more intelligent and more docile, while avoiding all the side effects brought on by hybridization. That's why when we first wake up as Flumbo, they start immediately asking us questions about our memory. They're figuring out the starting point, which they will then test again once we've eaten Banban. But of course, Banban didn't let that happen. Although, according to the study, GD only really become cannibalistic like this when they're hungry. So as long as Banban kept Flumbo well fed and not locked away for years, he'd likely never get to the point of wanting to eat him anyway. Now, there is a chance that Banban is actually banking on this detail, using Flumbo's hunger to eat his way through all of the other experiments that stand in his way. Problem is, he's going to absorb more and more memories and abilities each time he does. And with the newest trailer being called Retribution, and with images like letters glitching from red to blue, this game seems to be setting up an epic conflict between Flumbo and Banban, a battle of the devils. Because now that Flumbo is out, he's going to be hungry for two things: flesh and revenge. But hey, that's just a theory. A game theory! Thanks for watching.
God. Oh, I swear. Like, honestly, I keep flipping back and forth between Garten of Banban being, like, the stupidest thing ever and being, like, secretly clever. But then I have to remember that a lot of the secretly clever stuff is literally only stuff that I've seen on, like, game theory. So there's the real possibility that they're just reading way too much into this. Oh, God. But yeah, I mean, granted, I mean, like, I'm never going to spend money on Garten of Banban. I mean, I don't have that much disposable income as it is, and I'm not going to spend it on, you know, something like that. But I do get a kick out of just seeing, like, all the different YouTubers play through it, and just, like, seeing what weirdness comes up. Oh, God. So, I mean, when chapters 8 and or 5 finally come out, I'm going to, you know, definitely love seeing people play it. But yeah, that's definitely going to be it for now. So yeah, of course, as always, original video is linked in the description if you haven't seen it for some reason. Corner video will link to my film theory reaction. And yeah, with all that out of the way, I hope you guys liked. If you did, leave a like, subscribe if you have not. and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.